have a group that we were thinking about going this weekend with.
Oh, wow.
And
this is why it brought tears to your eyes.
Yeah, I put the cost together and thought, oh, not the best time. So we didn't go. And, you know, I was looking at the different boats and the sizes of the boats, and they're all typically anywhere from 60 to 75 feet. So I was a little worried that it was the group that we went with. But then you think about it, and you know, if it's not necessarily the group we went with, we may know someone on another boat, because we sometimes, if our group's full, we'll go with another you know, dive adventure group just to get on a boat.
You're waiting to see if perhaps you may have known or know someone who was on this. CBS News is confirming that the boat, the company, it's the Conception.
Okay.
Are you familiar with that company?
I dove, Truth Aquatics is who owns Conception, and I've dove on 2 of their boats, which is, they have a boat called Truth and a boat Peace.
Okay, and so Conception, explain that again. This is the company that...
Yeah, Truth Aquatics is the company that owns Conception.
Okay.
And typically, like, some of the, you know, companies will own 2 or 3 boats.
Okay. So the owner of the aquatics company is at the scene. And Darla, are you saying you've been on the Conception before?
I have not. I actually have not been on that boat, but I've been on others similar to it.
Well, I'm hoping that your friends are okay. I know there are a lot of people waking up this morning and hearing about this explosion. I'm sure within your very tight-knit community who are just hoping and praying that people are okay.
Yeah.
And thank you for that insight, Darla.
Thank you.
I know, and it is so difficult for us to talk about, but for Darla, who is personally tied into this in the diving community, we feel for you, and I'm so sorry that you're having to watch and go through this, and the families. You know, we're praying that more rescues are made, and that the Ventura County Fire and other agencies are working as hard as they can right now to do just that. But it's very it's still dark, and I mean, obviously it's a difficult task that they have.
And from talking to Darla, we've learned that this boat probably took off a couple days ago. Intense diving. It's exhausting to be in the water for how many hours do you spend usually on a trip a day?
You usually do 4 dives a day, and depending on how well you breathe your air, you're going to be under the water for anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour per dive.
And what breaks my heart, or what's so scary to think about, are all ages. That you're saying your teens, as young as,
I'm 10 years old. My youngest is 10.
And certified.
Yeah.
Wondering how many kids were on board this.
Right, because you wonder with the 3-day weekend and everyone having off, who couldn't get away.
Okay.
And we have a picture from the boat of the website of the owner of the Conception. We're going to bring it up right now.
Okay.
That's what the boat looked like, obviously, before this. Can you describe the setup of the boat, Darla, to us?
So all of your dive equipment is going to be on the very back there. And then the galley, which is that kind of middle section, would be the kitchen and everywhere where everyone would hang out and eat. And then the top portion in the front would be the captain's headquarters, where typically the crew will sleep or take their naps. And then where the galley's at, should be stairs on either side that would lead you down to the very bottom of the boat, where all the bunks were.
And that's what's so heartbreaking, knowing that most people were underneath, with a very tiny area to get in and out.
Yeah.
With the flames shooting up off the top. And the boat Conception by Truth Aquatics. Apparently, Suzanne, you mentioned the owners there at the scene, but we have called, and we will keep up our phone calls to try to get some sort of information, but they've said no comment. Obviously, they're trying to deal with this tragic accident right now. CBS News confirmed the name, though, the Conception, this diving boat. As you take a look at the flames, the boat on fire there with the in the background, the firefighter in the forefront, just trying to put out the fire. We haven't gotten word on if the flames are out, or if the boat at this point, if they're able to get on the boat, or what kind of stage we're at, because this is obviously out there in the water still. It's Santa Cruz Harbor area.
And you think about the amount of fuel. Can we talk about the oxygen tanks and all of the possible flammable things that are on board?
Oh yeah, I mean every tank that's on there, and then the compressor that's on there to fill the air. I mean, They are coming to the end of the weekend, so I can
Yeah.
imagine that it was probably getting low, but it's still, very flammable, air.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course, we don't know the cause of the
Sure.
fire, or if it was an explosion, then a fire. Of course, we just see flames. But are there warnings on the boat not to smoke or anything that you can think of that?
Oh yeah, they don't want us smoking or anything like that.
And the
you know.
meals are pretty basic. I mean, is there a lot of, gas? I mean, in terms of a gas stove, or do you remember seeing any of that? I'm just wondering,
there
how
is-
much flammable equipment
Yeah, there is stove, but they probably
Yeah.
run off the same tank as
right.
what they would fill the air with.
It's just tragic to see these images, and at this point, if the boat slowly sinks, after so much of it has been burned,
Right.
before they can even get on board to do their investigation, I mean, that's a concern. How quickly they need to get on there to, to find people, to get to the bodies. It's unbelievable that we're talking about this many missing, 34 missing, 5 crew members, assuming those, as Darla had pointed out, are our diving expert here with us this morning, who works with us every morning on CBS 2. But the fact that those 5 crew members are on top. So that's not really a surprise that maybe those 5 were rescued with only minor injuries because they were able to get off so quickly when this happened, and that someone's personal boat came and brought at least one of them back to the shoreline. To help out, because civilian vessels were called in to assist because of the magnitude of this fire and the rescue operation. So people Good Samaritans, I'm assuming, trying to jump in to help. Okay,
And
Suzanne,
there's a website that our producers are telling us about. It's called Marine Traffic. And Darla, we're going to ask you to kind of take a look at this. It shows the arc and the travel of the conception. Does this look familiar when you look at Santa Cruz Island, which is about 20 miles off of Ventura? You've been to that area. Does that look like a familiar sort of path that the boat would have taken?
Yeah, they'll typically go back and forth up along the coast. I mean, if they're going to focus on just Santa Cruz Island, they'll typically go, back and forth and dive at little spots along there.
And again, we have Darla Fletcher. She is a member of the CBS 2 News morning team. She is with us every morning and just so happens to be an experienced diver, certified, her entire family is. And we are following a tragic, deadly accident of a boat that caught fire, possibly an explosion on board. 5 people were rescued, possibly crew members, and 34 people are unaccounted for. We don't know how many people are dead, but we do know there are lives lost. So a tremendous loss this morning, a tremendously stressful and scary situation this Labor Day morning. And Darla, you've been sharing your expertise with us because you have been out there, and this is a live shot of Channel Islands Harbor this morning. Darla, I'm sure this is a very familiar sight to you.
Yes, it is. We go out of that harbor often.
And tell me about the diving community. You said you were wondering this morning if you might know somebody.
Right.
These aren't just weekend trips for a vacation. These are people who are very experienced and go frequently on these trips.
Right. It's kind of like a hobby if you went golfing and you golf with the same people. It's that kind of tight-knit community where you meet people on the boats and you run into them all the time. We typically see a lot of the same faces on these boats every time we go.
And you go with the family, so it's a family experience. Right. I mean, lots of adults involved too, but your 2 boys are certified.
Yes. We try not to drag them out to the cold waters too often, but we like to keep up their skills, so we make them come with us sometimes.
Talk to me about just what's going through your head right now, your emotions.
Honestly, it's just tough to think about. It could have been us. And I bring my babies on the boats. And, I don't think twice about something like this happening. And, and I worry that people that I really care about were out there.
And you said you even considered going on a trip this weekend.
Yeah, we wanted to go with our group, and they were going to be on a boat called Sea Ray. And we were thinking about it, and we just realized it was, you know, a 3-day weekend on a dive boat isn't cheap, and for a family of 4 would get really expensive.
We love you. We are here for you. I can't imagine how hard this is. When you saw this from your post, from your seat there in the operations control room, when you saw this news coming in, just your shock when
Yeah.
you see 34 people on a dive boat and to be so closely connected to it. I can't imagine.
Well, when I first brought in the video, I thought, oh, boat fire, you know, sitting in the harbor, got on fire. And then my husband texted me and said, did you hear about the dive boat? And I was like, no. But I had just brought in the boat fire, and I just didn't put the 2 and 2 together, because I would never think that, you know, I just didn't think about a dive boat catching on fire.
But then you think about, that's what people don't understand, I guess. When we cover news, we cover things and we try to have an objective stance, but when you realize how
It's close to
things
home.
Right.
come, it's there before the grace of God go I.
Yeah, you tend to kind of block it out and just, you know, it's another news. When it hits close to your, you know, dive community and people that, you know, you really grow and care about. Like, we travel with these people. All of our vacations that we're gone for a week at a time, we're with these people. And you grow really close to them. And a lot of them, you know, we may not all go together, but, you know, typically there's 3 or 4 of us that are with each other on each vacation that we go on, whether it's Catalina for the weekend or we just got back from Hawaii with our dive group. And so you bond with these people.
Yeah, so when you hear, okay, more than 40 people on the boat, 5 were able to get off, which were crew members. Now 34 are missing, some of those lives lost. It's going to have a ripple effect throughout the community. Now we have a graphic of what the bunk looks like, and you described it already to us, but this shows just how tight the quarters are underneath the top.
Yeah.
Enough to sleep 34 people. I mean,
Yeah, because some of the bunks are single bunks and some are double, so you can sleep 2 to each bed. But it's definitely, it's a bunk. You've got people on a bottom row, people on a top, and then you see the middle section there that's separated by a wall, so you have bunks on each side of those walls.
So we know there was a fire on a boat. If you're just joining us at 6:56, we are going to be continuing on KCAL 9 News after the once the 7 o'clock hour starts. So stay with us. We have Darla Fletcher on set with us. There has been a boat fire off of Santa Cruz Island. More than 40 people were on board. 34 people are officially unaccounted for, but we do know there are lives lost. 5 people were rescued, and as Darla said, the crew members usually stay on top, and that sounds about right. But they were able, if there was an explosion or a fire, they were able to get off, just saving themselves immediately. But what's chilling, and what I always see in your face when you mention it, is there's a tiny entrance and exit, and if there's fire above, possibly these people were all trapped.
Right.
And
But, you know, typically you mentioned how they jump off, but the crew members on these boats are usually so caring. And so I can't imagine that they didn't, I'm sure they tried. They tried
They may have been
to
forced,
help these
yeah.
people off, because I can't imagine them just leaving them behind, like, unless they had to.
And that's what makes me wonder if the flames were so intense. As you just take a look at some photos, was it too much? Did
Were
they
they
have
forced
no other?
off the boat?
Sure.
Right.
You know, and at this point, and smoke. You know, when I go and cover house fires, it's the smoke that's so that was shocking to me to learn. It's that kills you, you know, so fast before the
Yeah,
flames.
because it takes away the oxygen.
So maybe you know you pass out and then you can't move.
Right.
You're incapacitated. So.
Yeah, so
I
if you're
mean,
sleeping,
right,
and
you're
if
not
it
aware
comes
of
over
what's
you
happening
before you can even get up.
Yeah, and that's what you know. Dozens feared dead. We don't have an accurate number. We are waiting for a press conference that is expected to take place at some point this morning. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to simulcast here, not only on CBS2, but our sister station, KCAL 9. That's going to be at 7 a.m. So we're not leaving this coverage. We will continue to bring you coverage. And then network, CBS News, is going to have a special report on this, so they're going to pick that up, and then we're going to continue on KCAL 9 with those details. And Darla, stay with us and continue to be here with us to kind of walk us through. You've offered expert insight into what these dive boats are all about and what these people might have been facing. Have you begun to reach out to some of your friends just to see if they're okay?
Not yet, just because I was afraid to wake people up that
Sure.
might be sleeping. My husband did reach out to a few, and he's waiting to hear back.
Yeah.
And just to catch people up, at 6:59 this morning, firefighters say with the U.S. Coast Guard, 34 people are unaccounted for and 5 people have been rescued. We know one person was taken on a private boat to Channel Islands Harbor. This is video, of course, that the Coast Guard sent us. You can see the flames, how intense they were, and how firefighters were just pouring water on this boat called the Conception. The owner of the boat hasn't said anything, has said no comment, but of course may be waiting to learn information and doesn't want to put anything out there until it's absolutely confirmed. The call came in around 4 a.m., so as Darla mentioned, that's usually when most people who are diving are sleeping.
Right.
So when this fire broke out, most of the people on the boat were probably asleep.
Yeah, because they typically won't wake up until about 6 a.m. or so.
I mean, Ventura County Fire even saying they responded to this even as early as 3:30. So that's even more just earlier. All right.
We want to welcome our KCAL 9 viewers. We are airing on Channel 2 and Channel 9 simultaneously. We have breaking news this morning, a very sad
to give people the power to build community, to bring the world closer together.
This technology can enable groups of people to come together. That was the dream. Make people doubt what the facts are and your trust is eroded. Social media was weaponized.
Kapal ang mukha ninyo. Kayong
This is a CBS News special report. I'm Anthony Mason in New York. A major rescue operation is underway right now at a burning boat off the California coast. There are reports of fatalities at the scene. The Coast Guard says it's responding to reports of more than 30 people unaccounted for. The 75-foot boat is near Santa Cruz Island, part of the Channel Islands National Park. That's